He mopped blood from emergency room floors every night for 3 years. The nurses barely nodded when he passed. The doctors never learned his name. But when the hospital's trauma unit faced its worst crisis and a young surgeon collapsed under pressure, the quiet man in grey scrubs stepped forward. What happened next revealed why his hands never shook, why he never flinched at the sight of blood, and why the faded tattoo on his forearm told a story no one had bothered to ask about. Welcome to the Human Stories. Before we begin this powerful story of silence, skill, and forgotten legacy, tell me in the comments which city you're watching from today. And if you believe stories like this need to be remembered, hit that subscribe button and help us make sure they are. The night shift at Metropolitan Hospital was never easy. The emergency room was always in motion, ambulances, screaming, life and death decisions under fluorescent lights. Corridors reeked of disinfectant and white-coated figures hurried around every corner. In the midst of this chaos, Miguel Martinez was an almost invisible figure. He came to work every night at 10 p.m. Never late, never early. He worked until 6 a.m., then quietly went home. His grey hospital uniform was always clean but worn. His steps were silent, his presence unremarkable. His hands were strong but gentle. His eyes were calm but always alert. He had been working here for 3 years, cleaning blood after surgeries, collecting medical waste, disinfecting corridors, changing bed sheets. He was the man who did the dirty work. Everyone knew him only as Miguel. No nurse knew his last name. No doctor wondered where he came from. He was just there, doing his job and disappearing. But there were details that careful observers might have noticed. Miguel's hands never trembled. He never flinched at the sight of blood. He never hesitated when he heard patients moaning. During emergencies, while other cleaning staff panicked, he remained calm, as if he had experienced this kind of chaos before. Dr. Sarah Chen, a 28-year-old young but talented surgeon, was one who noticed Miguel. There were things about him that made her curious. Why did he prefer to work in the trauma unit? Why didn't he want to work in other departments? Why was he never disturbed when he saw blood during operations? Once Dr. Chen had asked him, "Miguel, why do you always work in this department? Pediatrics or internal medicine would be calmer." Miguel had just shrugged. "They need me here," he had said. "Not elsewhere." That day Dr. Chen had sensed there was a deeper meaning behind this answer, but she hadn't dared to ask more. Miguel's past was a secret no one knew. He was born in San Antonio in 1987. He lost his mother at a young age and was raised by his father. After finishing high school, since he couldn't afford college, he joined the army. He enlisted at 18 and completed the 68W Combat Medic program. He served 3 tours in Afghanistan, from 2005 to 2011, Helmand Province, Kandahar, Kunar Valley. He served in the most dangerous regions. He saved the lives of dozens of fellow soldiers. IED explosions, sniper attacks, rocket attacks. He saw death every day and lived with it. When he returned from his last deployment in 2011, he was diagnosed with PTSD. He couldn't sleep at night and couldn't concentrate during the day. He received treatment at military hospitals but never fully recovered. He left the army in 2013. He tried to live on his discharge pension, working small jobs. Finding his job at Metropolitan Hospital had been a coincidence. He was working for a cleaning company when this position opened up. He applied and was accepted. On his first day entering the trauma unit, he had experienced a strange feeling. He wasn't scared or anxious. On the contrary, he felt relieved. He felt at home here, because this place resembled a battlefield. The same urgency, the same life and death decisions, the same adrenaline. But there was no enemy here. There were only wounded people and a chance to save them. For 3 years he had worked quietly. No one asked about his past, and he didn't tell. He preferred the night shift because there were fewer people, fewer questions, less attention. He just worked and went home. But that night, everything would change. The night of February 27th, 11:30 p.m. Snow was falling outside and the city seemed calm. Miguel was working in the trauma unit corridor as usual. He was cleaning floors, collecting trash. Dr. Chen from the night shift had just come out of surgery and was drinking coffee. Suddenly the emergency room doors burst open. The first ambulance arrived. Then the second. Then the third. Paramedics rushed inside. "Gang war," shouted the first paramedic. 6 wounded coming in, 3 critical. Dr. Chen put down her coffee and ran to the preparation area. There were only 2 surgeons on the night shift. Dr. Chen and 50-year-old experienced Dr. Rodriguez, but Dr. Rodriguez was in another surgery. Dr. Chen would be alone. The first patient arrived. A 19-year-old young man with multiple stab wounds to the chest. He was having difficulty breathing. Dr. Chen immediately began examination, but noticed her hands were trembling. This was her biggest trauma case on the night shift. Miguel left his cleaning cart and began to observe the situation. He could see that Dr. Chen was under stress. The nurses were also panicking. The second patient was coming, but they hadn't been able to start treating the first one yet. "Pulse dropping," shouted Nurse Linda. Dr. Chen listened to the patient's chest. No breath sounds on the left, could be hemothorax. But the trembling in her hands was increasing. She dropped the stethoscope, picked it up again. The patient's condition was deteriorating. Miguel entered. "Doctor, do you need help?" Dr. Chen looked at him in surprise. "Miguel, you can't come in here. This is a sterile area." "I know," Miguel said in a calm voice. "But the patient is dying." Dr. Chen looked at the patient again. Miguel was right. The patient's lips were starting to turn blue. Oxygen saturation was dropping. "Wash your hands, put on gloves," said Dr. Chen. "Now." Miguel quickly washed his hands and put on sterile gloves. He came to the patient's side and examined the wound. He listened, palpated, checked the eyes. Complete dullness in left hemithorax. Chest tube needed. 32 French, 5th intercostal space, anterior axillary line. Dr. Chan's mouth fell open. "You? How do you know this?" Miguel didn't look at her, focused on the patient. He turned to the nurse. 32 French chest tube, betadine, local anesthesia. "Now." His authoritative tone sprang the nurse into action. She brought the supplies. Miguel leaned over the patient. "No need for local anesthesia," he said. "Patient is on the verge of unconsciousness." He made a small incision with the scalpel. He palpated the chest wall with his finger, found the right spot. He placed the chest tube carefully but quickly. Suddenly there was an outflow of blood and air. The patient's chest expanded. He began to breathe. Oxygen saturation began to rise. "How did you do that?" whispered Dr. Chen. Miguel secured the chest tube and put in the sutures. "I learned it in Afghanistan." At that moment, the second patient also arrived. 25 years old, gunshot wound to the abdomen. Dr. Chen was torn in 2. "I'll take this one," said Miguel. "You deal with the other." "But you're not a doctor." Miguel showed the tattoo on his arm. A faded but recognizable medical cross with 68W. Combat medic written underneath. 15 years ago I was a doctor. On the battlefield. He began examining the second patient. Abdominal palpation, vital signs, rapid assessment. His hands moved with perfect precision. He had done these procedures hundreds of times. "Abdominal penetration, probable liver damage," he said. "Emergency surgery needed." Dr. Chen now trusted him completely. "Prepare the operating room," she shouted to the nurses. That night Miguel was no longer invisible. 3 more patients came. Miguel helped Dr. Chen with each one. Opening IV lines, intubation, stabilization. His hands never trembled. His voice never carried panic. At 5 a.m. the last patient was stabilized. All 6 of the wounded had survived. Dr. Chen sat exhausted from fatigue. "Miguel," she said, "if you hadn't been here tonight, we would have lost at least 2 patients." Miguel was taking off his gloves. "I just helped, doctor." "No, you're the most experienced medic in this hospital. Why are you doing cleaning work?" Miguel paused. "Because there's no war anymore. But people are still dying. At least here I have a chance to save them." Dr. Chen looked at the tattoo on his arm. "What did you experience in Afghanistan?" "Enough," said Miguel. "But that's in the past. Now I'm here." The next day Miguel's story spread throughout the hospital. Nurses, doctors, administrators, everyone wanted to know who he was. But Miguel said nothing. He just continued his work. The hospital director called him in. "Miguel, we can offer you a medical assistant position. 3 times your salary." Miguel refused. "I have cleaning work. If no one else will do it, I will. But you're much more valuable." "Every job is valuable," said Miguel. "I'm happy here." Dr. Chen now spoke to him differently. She addressed him not just as Miguel, but as Martinez. She asked for his opinion, sought his advice. One night Dr. Chen asked him, "Why don't you ever tell your story?" Miguel stopped his mop. "Because what happened in the past isn't something to brag about. They were just jobs that needed to be done. Now I continue to do other jobs. But people should know you. They should know what you did." "Why?" asked Miguel. "I already know." "That's enough." That night as Dr. Chen went home, she thought about Miguel. There were men like him who served quietly, doing their duties without expecting anything. In war, in hospitals, everywhere. Invisible heroes. When Miguel got home, his wife Maria was waiting for him. "How was the night?" "Normal," said Miguel. "A bit busy." Maria knew he was lying. There were things Miguel never talked about. Nights when he was plagued by nightmares since returning from Afghanistan, moments when he cried. But Maria was patient. She loved Miguel. She trusted him. "When you're ready, you'll talk," she would say. "Don't rush." Miguel couldn't sleep that night. Dr. Chan's words were on his mind. Did people need to know him? Did he need to share his past? Then he remembered. The friends he lost in Afghanistan. Jenkins, Rodriguez, Murphy, Thompson. They would never be able to tell their stories. But Miguel could tell his. Maybe this was respect for their memory. The next week everything continued the same for Miguel. Night shift, cleaning, silence. But now there were different looks. Respect, curiosity, admiration. Miguel wasn't bothered by this but was trying to get used to it. One night a young nurse approached him. "Miguel, I'm Jessica. I'm new. Can I learn something from you?" Miguel stopped. "What do you want to learn?" "How to stay calm. You never panic. How do you manage it?" Miguel thought. Panic isn't useful. The patient doesn't die from your panic. They die from your mistake. So stay calm, think, then act. Jessica took notes. "Any other advice?" "See the patient as a human, not a number, not a file. Try to do the best for them. The rest will follow." That night Miguel's words stayed in Jessica's mind. The next day she told other nurses. They also began asking Miguel for advice. Without realizing it, Miguel was becoming a mentor to the young staff at the hospital. He had no official title, but everyone respected him and asked for his opinion. At the end of the month, the hospital director called him again. "Miguel, I have a special offer for you. Trauma coordinator position. Even though you don't have formal medical education, your experience is valuable. If you want, we can also help with certification programs." This time Miguel accepted. "Can I still do my cleaning work?" The director laughed. "If you want, of course." Miguel now had 2 jobs. Trauma coordinator during the day, cleaning staff at night. He did both with the same care. 6 months later, Miguel's story appeared in the local newspaper. "Invisible Hero. From hospital orderly to lifesaver" was the headline. Miguel hadn't accepted the interview, but others had talked about him. After reading the article, thank you letters began coming to Miguel. From veteran associations, patient families, medical students. Miguel didn't reply to any of them, but he kept them all. One day Dr. Chen asked him, "You became famous. How do you feel?" Miguel shrugged. "The same, because I'm the same person. Just more people know now. Do you regret it?" "No. Maybe hiding was enough before. Maybe people needed to know. Not just that veterans have stories, but that those stories continue." Dr. Chen smiled. "You're a philosopher, Miguel." "No," said Miguel. "I'm just a man who's living." That evening when Miguel went home, Maria was waiting for him. She had the newspaper in her hands. "I read this," she said. Miguel got worried. "Are you angry?" Maria hugged him. "I'm proud. I was always proud, but now others know why they should be proud too." Miguel hugged his wife tightly. "I love you, Maria. I love you too, my hero." That night Miguel slept peacefully. For the first time in years, he didn't have nightmares. Because he was no longer carrying the past, he was building the future. Miguel Martinez's story doesn't end here. He still works at Metropolitan Hospital. He still cleans, still saves lives. But he's no longer invisible. He's now a man whose identity is known, whose story is shared, who is respected. Because sometimes heroes don't wear capes. Sometimes they wear grey scrubs, carry mops, and serve quietly. Until someone sees them. What about you? Have you ever known someone like Miguel? Someone who worked an ordinary job but actually had an extraordinary past? Write their names in the comments. Share their stories. Because here at the Human Stories, we believe that silent heroes should never remain invisible. If this story touched you, subscribe, share. Help us keep alive the power of silent service. We'll see you in the next story. Until then, if you see someone working quietly in hospital corridors, market checkout, or school classrooms, look more carefully. You might be witnessing history,